Today I'm canning sweet potatoes, and I'm all about following the canning recommendations unless they defy common sense, and that seems to be the case with all the instructions that I've seen for canning sweet potatoes. What they tell you to do is to wash the potatoes and then boil them for 15 to 20 minutes, then remove the peels and cut them up and put them into the jars while they're still hot. They call for a hot pack method only. Raw pack is not an option. Now, I don't know about you, but the thought of handling a canner load of hot sweet potatoes with my hands just does not appeal to me. I do have one book that says to wash them and then peel them with a knife first, but then they go on to say to cut them into half-inch cubes and boil them for 10 minutes. I know good and well that if I boil a half-inch cube for 10 minutes, I'm going to end up with mashed sweet potatoes. And you are not supposed to can mashed sweet potatoes. It could create density issues, and the heat may not be able to penetrate to the center of the jar. So I'm going to peel mine first, cut them into large chunks, and then boil them for a bit. And if you can follow the recommendations, more power to you, because I just don't see that working for me. And you do need to get the peels off because botulism is in the soil and botulism can become embedded in the peels. You need to get it off there. They say to use small to medium sized potatoes. I grew these myself, and I try to use this size. Anything larger I try to keep, for as long as I can, and anything smaller than this I try to use up right away. And I'll probably be making sweet potato pies from everything that's smaller than this and then putting them in the freezer. That works out very well. So I'm going to show you how I can sweet potatoes. It is not following the recommendations, the full procedure. So keep that in mind, and before you can anything, be sure to educate yourself on proper canning procedures. When you can sweet potatoes, you should can them when they're no more than 1 or 2 months old. And if you get them at this stage, they're not hard to peel. So I just peel them and cut all the little dark spots off, and then cut them into chunks that will conveniently fit into jars. And I'm putting them into water to keep them from browning. I have all of the sweet potatoes peeled and cut up, and I wash them again and put them into boiling water. Now I'm going to boil them until the outsides start to get a little soft, and that will give the boiling water an opportunity to pull some of the air and the starch out of these potatoes. You can see how the bubbles are forming on the top of the water. And back here I have a light syrup that I'm going to can them in, and I have my jars heating here and my lids and rings heating up back there. So as soon as the sweet potatoes are done, I'll start canning them up, and I'll let you know exactly how much time that takes. I've boiled these potatoes for 6 minutes, and you can see how fast they cook. That fork goes right through it, so I'm going to can them up real fast. I take a hot jar and I fill it with the sweet potatoes. And if you've never had home canned sweet potatoes, they are so much better than the ones you buy that are already canned in the store. They have a very pure, clean taste to them. And they're absolutely beautiful in the jars when they're done. And even if you have to buy sweet potatoes from the grocery store to can them, they turn out very well. I don't know what they do to sweet potatoes when they can them commercially, but they just taste real dirty after you know the difference. Then I add syrup to within 1 inch of the top. You could use plain water if you wanted to with this. You could add some salt if you wanted to. And you could use medium syrup if you want. I'm using a light syrup that I made at a rate of 9 cups of water to 2 1/4 cups of sugar. And that'll be enough for 7 quarts. I'm not sure if I have 7 quarts here or not. And remove the air bubbles. Sometimes shaking it around with large stuff like this does better than poking it with a stick. Then wipe the rim of the jar clean. Add a hot lid. And a ring. And I heat my rings, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And tighten it firmly. And then I set it in the canner to stay warm until all the jars are full. I have all the jars full and there's water in the canner. Everything's been kept warm while I was canning these up. Now I'm going to put the lid on and process them for 1 hour and 30 minutes. If I was doing pints, it would be 1 hour and 5 minutes. I'm processing at 10 pounds pressure. But if you live at higher altitudes, you need to adjust the pressure to suit your altitude. Always use your manufacturer's instructions for your canner. When the processing time was complete, I turned off the heat and let the canner sit for at least 30 minutes before I removed the lid. Now I'm going to take the sweet potatoes out of the canner and set them on a towel on the counter to cool. Tomorrow I will remove the rings, wash the jars, write sweet potatoes on the top, and the date that I canned them. Now, like I said, I did not follow the canning recommendations exactly for canning these sweet potatoes. If you can follow those recommendations, then that's the way you should do it. So that's how I can sweet potatoes. I hope it helps. Or that's where all the vitamins are. Yeah, right, Mom. All the vitamins always gravitate towards the raunchiest part of food.